Now, we all know that the Apple Vision Pro and Meta Quest 3 are some of the most popular VR/AR headsets that you can get right now. But what if you're looking for something a little bit more simple? Something that you can just put on and watch your favorite movies and TV shows, but still gives you the same kind of overall look and experience of the Apple Vision Pro without the price point, and something that looks a little bit better than the Meta Quest 3. And here we enter the Goovis G3 Max. This is a 5K head-mounted OLED display that gives you 2560 by 1440 to each eye, and it has optics that gives you a field of view about 65 degrees and effective screen size about 1000 inches. And with the aspherical glass elements, you get a similar PPD or pixel per degree level that's quite comparable to the Apple Vision Pro, but at a less than third of the cost. Now, I've been using the G3 Max for a while now, and I want to give you my perspective on it compared to my experience on using the Apple Vision Pro and Meta Quest 3. Now, there are some key differences between both the Apple Vision Pro and the Meta Quest 3 compared to a head-mounted display that Goovis really specializes in. The first thing is the fact that there are no cameras, no head tracking, and really the Apple Vision Pro and Meta Quest 3 are designed to be AR devices where you could interact with your real-life environment and put a screen in a virtual space. The Goovis, on the other hand, is much more simpler. You basically have a static display that is roughly a couple of feet away from you, is about 1000 inches in terms of screen size, and thanks to the micro OLED panel as well as excellent optics, you basically have a very awesome experience on consuming all your videos, TV shows, and movies. Of course, there's no head tracking, and the 3D capabilities, although there, is not really designed for what this thing is, which is basically a head-mounted HDMI display. Now, initially when I put on the Goovis G3 Max, I was really impressed by how the actual display looked. Thanks to the micro LED panel that's in here, you have a very awesome contrast ratio with infinite black levels and color rendition that's fairly accurate and very similar experience to what I got with the Vision Pro. Certainly a lot better to watch content and movies compared to the Meta Quest 3, which utilizes a traditional LCD display. And even though the Meta Quest 3 has a higher native resolution per eye, I believe you're looking at about 4.5 megapixels compared to the Goovis's 3.6 megapixels per eye. But because it's not using a pancake lens, which does give you a wider field of view, but does also introduce a lot of barrel distortion as well as a lot of softening of the edges, as well as imaging artifacts such as chromatic aberration and quite a bit of screen door effect. The plastic glass hybrid aspherical elements that Goovis utilizes does give you a slightly narrower field of view of 65 degrees, but you don't have the same noticeable screen door effect as the Meta Quest 3, and the actual acuity of the image at the center point in terms of pixels per degrees is actually quite similar to the overall sharpness and acuity that I experienced with the Apple Vision Pro, even though we don't have the same native resolution as the Vision Pro, which is more than 11 megapixels, almost 4 to 5 times the resolution of the Goovis. Now, according to Goovis themselves, supposedly at the center point of the image, the PPD level's up to 45, which is very similar to the Apple Vision Pro, which realistically gets around 44 to 45. I'm not too confident on whether that number is accurate or not, but I can definitely say that compared to the Meta Quest 3, the image definitely looked more sharper with less screen door effect. And thanks to the OLED display, it certainly helps in terms of the color dynamics, black levels, as well as less optical aberrations. Now, each eye does get 6 optical elements, and I'm pretty confident that one of those elements has to be some sort of low-pass filter in order to eliminate some of the screen door effects that are inherent with the Meta Quest 3. And certainly the Apple Vision Pro uses a very heavy low-pass filter, which just soften the image quite a bit, but smooths out the pixels, eliminating that screen door effect. And I have a very similar experience with the G3 Max. Now, granted, I do have to say that the Meta Quest 3 is definitely a much more capable device at a much more aggressive price point. But yes, if you are going to just watch 2D movies, I do prefer the image that I'm getting out of the G3 compared to the Quest. But the Quest is definitely a more versatile and capable headset. Now the G3 Max sits on top of the Goovis's head-mounted display lineup, so it is at the top end of the price point at around $1,100 currently, which is certainly quite steep. Now granted, it is quite expensive to make headsets like this with micro LED displays at this resolution, and given the advanced optics as well as some of the other advantages that we'll talk about, can justify the price point, but I still think it is pretty steep considering some of the other headsets that are out there. And certainly if you're going to replace this with a TV or monitor for around that $1,000 mark, you can certainly get a lot for your money. But of course, this is a completely different product segment, so we do have to consider that. But I still think that the price point is quite high considering what we're getting. Now moving forward, let's talk about the overall design and core features of the G3 Max. Now, firstly, let's talk about the actual fit and comfort of the headset. It is fairly lightweight with the standard strap and the standard headset, basically the baseline configuration, which in my opinion is not usable, which we'll talk about. It's around 473 grams. That's fairly lightweight. Now, if you add the zero pressure head strap, the total weight of the headset goes up to 562 grams. So definitely a lot heavier than the initial headset, but you have to use the zero pressure headset because one of the biggest issues with using any kind of a Velcro back strap is you don't get adequate pressure and balance throughout the head, and you either get pressure points on the top or bottom of the facial interface, which is not good long term, and you get nasty marks, and then you have breathing issues and fogging issues. So you really need to unfortunately get this zero pressure head strap, which is not included for whatever reason in the baseline configuration of the headset. It's another $85 or $90 on top of that if you don't get a bundle for the G3 Max, which is definitely upsetting. The good thing is with the actual zero pressure headset, it kind of eliminates all the discomfort issues that you're going to find with a standard Velcro headset. It has an adjustment knob at the back where you can make it fit right on your head, and it's really easy to interface with the knob. Due to the soft padding all around the headset, it actually feels great on the head with a great amount of balance at top to back, and the facial interface rests quite nicely and snugly onto the front part of your face with minimal pressure on the nose, and the actual fairing of the facial interface that goes all around your ear is kind of made out of this soft rubberized silicone-like material, which feels very breathable, and I had pretty much no issues with smearing or fogging or any kind of overheating issues even past 2 hours of usage. Now at the bottom of the headset, you have manual adjustments for your interpupillary distance. You can set it to 58 to 74 millimeters in terms of the distance. Now next, definitely the biggest advantage and my favorite feature about the G3 Max is the fact that you can independently control your diopter setting. So if you use corrective lenses, you can go all the way up to +2 to -7 in terms of correction. So a very wide range of corrective lens configuration, and this is a huge deal. Every time I've used some sort of VR headset, I basically get just the basic version. Now you can get corrective lenses for each independent headset to make it fit your prescription, but it certainly can get complicated, especially you have to have different settings to each eye in terms of what your diopter prescription is. On top of that, if you want to use glasses, it's quite a challenge, pretty much impossible with the Apple Vision Pro, and pretty cumbersome with the Meta Quest 3. But with this way, where you could have two dials on the left and right hand side and independently control your exact diopter setting for each individual eye, you're going to see a little readout. You basically close one eye, change the knob until you find a nice clear setting. Do it for the same method on the opposite eye, and you're pretty much good to go. It'll save that automatically. And if you want to pass it over to a friend that has a whole different prescription for their corrective lenses, they can manually select that as well and use the headset, which is definitely a nice feature if you're going to share this. It'd be a plus to have user saved profiles for these diopter settings, but a good feature nonetheless, and I'll take whatever I can get. Now at the top of the headset, there are some buttons and controls. On the right hand side, you have basically a dial for your screen brightness up to 10 levels. On the left hand side, you have a dial for your speaker loudness setting, there is a built-in speaker in here, of course. It doesn't honestly sound all that great. You probably want to pair a nice pair of Bluetooth headphones with it, but there is a built-in speaker if you need it. Now there is a 3D/2D mode button, and really the 3D content that you want to be consuming on this thing is something that shot medium focal range with a left and right signal channel. And this is something you would typically find on a 3D Blu-ray DVD or of some kind, or there are some streaming services that offer side-by-side 3D moving watching capabilities. You don't really want to watch a immersive 360-degree video, something that's designed for head tracking, since this is really not designed for that. You basically want to watch a traditional movie that's made for 3D or converted to 3D with a left and right channel at a medium focal range that's not designed for head tracking. Now on the right hand side, you will find a USB-C port, and included in the box is a HDMI full-size adapter. And with this adapter, you could basically plug it into your laptop, computer, or really any HDMI output and have both power and video signal to the headset itself. So you don't really need to necessarily supply 5-volt power to the headset, which is really nice if you just want one single cable operation. Now you can also hook up a smartphone using a USB-C or a Thunderbolt connection, something that interfaces with Thunderbolt or USB-C or DisplayPort using the USB-C interface. Now this being an HDMI head-mounted monitor, you could pretty much do anything you like with it in that scenario, but you are tethered to whatever video output that you're connected to. But what if you want something a little bit more portable? Well, Goovis has thought of that. They actually have a dongle that bundles in basically a Google TV small form factor box with a 8,000 milliamp hour battery. Now, the actual Google TV dongle basically has built-in Wi-Fi, an SoC, Bluetooth connectivity, and interfaces with the headset like a Google TV dongle would. So you basically have the Android 11 Google TV interface where you can stream all your favorite movies and TV shows through all the major service providers, and you can navigate it through the included remote control that is very simple and easy to kind of memorize, even if you're not looking at it, which is pretty important since there is no through mode where you could see out through the headset. Now, navigating through the interface is fairly simple and straightforward, especially when you're watching your basic Netflix and things like that, where you really need only basic function. And obviously you can search the web and as well as use different apps, which gets a little bit cumbersome, especially when you're using the keyboard on screen, but it does have voice integration, and you can also hook up a keyboard and mouse to the Google Android TV box if necessary. I'm really impressed by the overall packaging of this dongle. The Google TV box is pretty much the size of a credit card, has a full-size HDMI connection. On the back end has a USB-C for power connectivity. But with the dongle also is included an 8,000 milliamp hour battery that magnetically attaches to the Google TV box, and independently you can use it up to 6 hours of video playback. But in reality, with the headset itself connected to the Google TV box, you get around 1.5 to 2 hours based on my personal experience. Now, during my testing phase, the main way that I interfaced with the headset was with this Google TV dongle, and it was a great way to watch some of my favorite Netflix and Amazon shows. I'm really binging on One Piece right now, so it was really fun having a nice personal experience where I just have basically a nice 1,000-inch display that's only there just for me, and it's a great way to really personalize your entertainment. Some of the other use case scenarios is obviously for gaming. Now, at the native resolution of 2560 by 1440, the maximum refresh rate is actually 60 Hertz. And if you want 120 Hertz, you're gonna have to go down to 1080p. And you can certainly use it for basic 2D static VR gaming, but anything that requires head or body tracking is not possible based on the included hardware that this headset comes with. And I'm sure if you modify things and add things like webcam trackers or lighthouse systems, you can probably get head tracking to work. But straight out of the box, this is really designed for basically a static 2D image that's right in front of you, and you can certainly game with it. And it's certainly a usable gaming device given the limitations of the refresh rate at the native resolution, but pretty playable at 1080p. Another great use case scenario is actually a field monitor for your camera. So if you're going to go outside, you can easily just hook up the HDMI to your camera and basically have a very nice isolated viewpoint of what the camera is seeing. Great on a bright sunny day where you can do actual critical focus, and since the display is quite accurate, you can judge things like exposure relatively easily, as well as change some of the parameters of your shots and review your footage, which is really fun to do. And if you are using a drone that outputs through HDMI through the controller, you can actually use it for FPV purposes as an aerial photography monitoring device. Now moving forward, I want to talk about the long-term usability of the G3 Max. Now, with any VR headset, you're going to get VR fatigued. Unless you're a seasoned veteran that can go hours upon hours, you are going to get tired. Now, I've been personally using the Goovis for around 30 to 40 minutes for most of my episodes that I typically watch on a daily basis, and it's perfect for that. I have watched anywhere between an hour and a half up to 2 hours with my battery life testing, and I did definitely get tired. I was gonna struggle to be in the headset for that prolonged period of time. And that's to say that pretty much every VR headset is going to be fatiguing. To have something that bright and that close up to you is going to definitely have some significant eye strain. Now, Goovis does utilize some focusing technology where they want to make your eyes focus at a greater distance, so you have less nearsighted eye fatigue, but it's going to happen regardless, especially if you're going 3-4+ hours in a use case session. And certainly the biggest disadvantage and limiting factor of all head-mounted displays, whether that be the Vision Pro or this, is the fact that you're going to get tired and you can't really replace it compared to a conventional monitor or TV. Now, in summary, I've really enjoyed my time with the G3 Max. I think it offers a awesome viewing experience, especially for movies and TV shows. If you're wanting to isolate your content and have it free from distraction, and also simplify the experience of personal content consumption, it's definitely a great device for that. It's certainly not as versatile as the more popular VR/AR headset, since it's really not made for that. But as a head-mounted display, it definitely does the job, has excellent color rendition, great optics, and certainly has some value from that perspective. But is it really worth the price point of over $1,000? I would definitely say no. And the fact that it doesn't come with some basic necessities such as the Google TV box and the zero pressure back head strap is definitely a big concerning to me. If you're just gonna basically get the headset, you don't really get some of the other big advantages that this headset employs, such as that great Google TV dongle and the ergonomics of the head strap. So from a base perspective, I would definitely not recommend it. If you're going to buy the bundle, yes, you can certainly justify the price, but it's hard to do so given the other options out there. But I really want to thank Goovis for allowing us to have the opportunity to test out the G3 Max. It's not easy for them to do, but I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'm going to use this thing on a daily basis. I love watching my One Piece episodes. There's so many to watch, so I have a big journey ahead of me, and I really love consuming TV shows and kind of shorter form content on this, since I can really isolate and focus on the show free from distractions, which is a great advantage of this head-mounted display. But if you guys have any specific questions, let me know. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you're liked and subscribed to the channel, have post notifications turned on, and we'll see you real soon in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.